Okay. All right. So once again, this is Sam Lab Tech bringing you another tutorial, and in this tutorial, we are going to be dealing with mastering in Studio One. Okay. So in the last video, you guys saw that we mixed in Studio One and we exported our song in Studio One. That was a mixing and exporting. Okay. Well, now how do we master and export? Okay, because that is two different processes. Okay. So let me bring myself here. Okay. So the way we are going to do this is this. Okay. Right now we are in this project setting here, and we are like, okay, all right. How do we, get ourselves in the project window? Okay. So if you guys watched the other introductory video, we talked about project, right? And we said in song mode. Okay, you guys cannot see. So let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Okay. So we said in song mode, that's where we are gonna record at. Okay, that's where we do our projects at. Or we do all these things at. Okay, and then in project mode, that is where we are gonna master at. Okay, so that's all we need to understand with this. Okay, so right now we are done with our song. Okay, at this stage, we are gonna click on project, or we are gonna go to file, new project. Okay, same thing. Okay, file, new project, or project. Same thing. So at this song, we are going to say demo song master. And we are going to put in the same folder we created. Okay. You can do that if you want, but for the sake of demonstration, we are going to put it in the same folder we created. Okay. The AAA lesson. Okay. And then we are just going to call it that. Or even, we can even create something in here called master. Okay. Master. Okay. Or let's just say mastering, maybe. Mastering. Yeah. And then we're just going to put it in there. Okay. And it's there. Okay. And for the sample rate, we are going to change it to 48. Why? Because we recorded the song in 48. We want to work in 48. Okay. 48 kilohertz for the sample rate. Very important, because this is not a final export. Okay. Very important. So now we have this thing here. Okay. And again, just like you saw in the project, okay, in the project, you saw insert, sends, and then on the master, you saw insert and post, just like you did. Post, insert, just like you saw, okay? Same way in the project, we have the insert, okay, and we have the post, okay? So here's how it's gonna work. When we first get in here, okay, a few things to understand, okay, is over here in this section is where you get your digital releases, okay? Maybe you're burning it to a CD or a DVD, this is where you do it at. Okay, if you're using the image method or the DDP method, if that is fits in your workflow, that's where you do it at. If you are sending, this time, if you're about to export, this time around, you don't know how to do it. You'll be looking for it, you can't find it. Well, guess what? It's right here. That's where you're going to export at, okay? So that is the basic things you need to understand about the project setup here, okay? And this has already been explained. We don't need to talk about it, okay? So to bring in a project, we are going to go to project, import file. Okay, we can simply browse through the files and just drag in and stuff, but for the sake of demonstration, we are going to do this, okay? Desktop, lesson, mastering. Sorry, we put it here, so we're just going to click on that, okay? You can listen to it a little bit if you feel like you need to, or you can simply just bring it in, okay? And now it's in. Okay, so now that is in, my first advice is, if you feel like you need to update the song, okay, double click it and then update it to whatever you want. For example, if I wanted to call it demo song master track, maybe that's what I wanted to call it, okay? Maybe. I'm just gonna do that. Here are a few things to understand, okay? If you are doing something, click on this arrow and it's gonna give you the song information. Maybe the songwriter's name is Stein. Maybe the composer is Sam Lab Tech. Maybe. Maybe the arranger is still Stein. Maybe the genre of this is pop. It's just let's just call it jazz. Jazz. Okay? Maybe the year is 2022. Maybe I want to put an artwork in there. Okay? Maybe that's just maybe. Okay? That's just an idea. Okay, it's gonna tell you it's not fitting the size, blah blah blah. Do you want them to scale it? Just say yes. They will do it for you. Okay? Maybe that's what I want to do. Okay? And if I want to write a comment, maybe this is a demo song release. Maybe you don't need to do all this. That's up to you if you feel like you need all this. Okay? And I can just do that. Okay? So one of the things that I will always tell you is before you start working on your master, always click on loudness information so it tells you some information already. Okay, remember when we did it, we were seeing it at around -6, right? And so we should be seeing something like that. Okay, we should be seeing it -6.3 true peak. Okay, -6.3, and that's good. And the idea here is by the time we are done, okay, by the time we are done, we should see this around -14, and I'll explain that very shortly. So if you want to see it in LU mode, my advice is get it somewhere around 8. If you want to see it in LUFS, my advice is to get it somewhere between -14. You will understand all this very shortly, okay? Right now, when I brought the project in, it's not zoomed in, so you don't even see it here, okay? So the only way I'm going to be able to show you is by me zooming in to show you, okay? And I can zoom in. I can zoom in with my E, okay, by clicking E, so you can actually E and W to zoom in and out. Okay, that's one of the ways to do it. Okay, that's one of the ways to do it. And also, you see what I'm doing here? Okay, you can also take it there and click Control. Okay, click Control and just go use your mouse. You can just scroll down and up to do that. Okay, all right. So you guys get the idea. All right, and if you wanted to just get stuck on it or like to go to a specific part, just use shift and control. Okay, so it's control and then up and down, or you can use the shift also. All right, to keep it a bit more uniform. Okay, cool. So now, how do I fade in and out? Okay, let's talk about fades. Okay, well, let's not talk about that in the beginning. It's not that necessary. Let's talk about looping because we need to loop this so we can keep doing it, right? So at the top here, no longer at the top here, now it's at the top here, okay? So you're gonna loop it out the way you need it, okay? And then you're gonna use whatever shortcut or the loop here, okay? And that's gonna loop it out for you so you can hear it. So in LUFS mode, you guys see it's whatever it showed us, it's exactly what is showing up here, okay? And when it comes to mixing, this is only showing you like the true peak or something like that, okay? If you want to see it in LUFS mode, which is what is acceptable for radio stations and stuff like that, you can use K20, K14, K12, or even EBU if you understand what these all mean. For me, I'm mostly working with the K series, and then I will probably use K14, okay? What you need to understand is with K14, it's definitely going to go over sometimes, so just be mindful that depending on whatever song you are going to do, you might need to sacrifice it sometimes to get it where you need to get it to, okay? So for the sake of doing it the right way, we are going to use K14 and true peak most times. And we are going to be looking at whatever we are getting here. The idea is to make sure whatever we are getting for the INT read here is at -14, okay? And we are looking at it for the short term, right? Because for the long term, most times we are going to see it at the right place, but we are looking at it for the short term read, okay? So one of the things that I like to always pull in is a waves plugin. if you type in meter, okay, it's going to give you a WLM reader and all kinds of that. So for example, you can use a level meter, but my whole thing is it's already in here for you with the mastering, so you don't need it, right? So I rather put on a waves meter called WLM, okay, WLM reader, and the way that works is you guys will see it shortly. Okay, you guys see that? And I'm looking for my short term. Right now, this is how it sounds. All I want to make sure is my short term is always matching to my long term. For sometimes it doesn't matter, but you know, that's the idea, okay? So again, we already did this, so we're gonna click this to get it out of the way, okay? And what I could do is I could put my WLM on my post, okay, and not on my master. So here's how this works. Assuming I had multiple tracks in here, assuming I had this and this and this and this and blah, 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 I just duplicated it, okay? Assuming I did. That means on this track, I can maybe put on an EQ. That's just an example, okay? Maybe this is what I want on there. But this track won't have that, you see? So I can treat every track separate based on what I need to do. Maybe it has a level meter. See, whatever I put on each track will be different, okay? Let's undo all those. Okay? So now it's just a dry thing, okay? All right. So for me personally, I will do everything on my master, okay? I don't do it on my insert. I do everything on my master, okay? Or you can say to yourself, I'll do all my treatments on my inserts and do my limiting on my master. It's up to you. For me, I do everything on my master, okay, if it's one track. So what are some of the things you would use? Assuming you came in and you were clipping, okay, one of the things I would advise you to do is use some type of compressor or something like that. For me, I will use what Waves call a Q1, okay? And all I would do is say I was really hot, I will simply drag it down, okay? So hear it. And get it wherever I need to get it to before I start mixing. Remember, I said -6, so that means if I was hot and I needed to get to -6, I would have to come down until I start peaking at -6, okay? For the sake of demonstration, I'm not using this. So if I was using just, you know, Studio One stuff, okay, one of the things I would do here is if I like my mix already, okay, if I like it already, that means I won't do much in mastering, okay? So if you're, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you how I would do it with Waves. Then after that, I'll show you how I do it with Personas. How about that? Let's do it that way. So if I was doing it with Waves, okay, one of the things that I would like to add to this, right, would be something like some slight compression, maybe. So I'll use maybe something like an SSL compressor, okay? And sometimes what you could do is instead of setting it however you want, okay, you can always pick a profile that fits what you need to do. Something like mastering and then work from there. So hear how it sounds. Without, that's without, with, so my idea with compression is this. I want to just get slight compression. I don't want it to compress too much. So you see how this thing is moving on off the 0? My goal is to let it compress maybe about 3 or 4, okay? Not like in terms like, I'm talking about 0.3 or 4, okay? Somewhere right about here, not so much, okay? So the way that's going to work is with the threshold, the further I have it back, the more it's going to compress. Watch it. The more I have it to the 15, the less it's going to compress. You guys see that? You see how slow it is? Right? You see it's barely compressing, right? So my goal is to compress it until I see what I want whatever I want to see, that little compression that I'm looking for. And that's okay for me. All right. And what I would do is, if I want to hear certain dynamics and certain things not to cut out too much, I will adjust this as needed. For example, maybe a fast attack or a slow attack, a fast release or a slow release. Most times, I believe a fast release is very good, but I just keep it on auto with this plugin. Okay. If you feel like you need some makeup gain because you lost some gain, you can make it up. I'm not going to make it up for the sake of demonstration. All right, and I just leave this as is and this as is. All right, and that's all I do with compression. So far we started from -24. Where are we at now? We are getting to -18. Remember, we want to get to -14. Always remember that, okay? So with that, that's fine. Maybe I wanted to add something like not waves, but maybe let's see, maybe something from Slate, okay? Maybe Fresh Air. Maybe. Let's hear how Fresh Air would sound like. So Fresh Air is just going to brighten it, and it's just going to make it sound very nice, okay? But for me, before I use Fresh Air, what I would first use would be something from Waves again, and it's going to be the Vintage Exciter, okay? So hear how the Vintage Exciter sounds as is right now, okay? As is right now, without. With. It's very bright, too bright, okay? So how can I just smoothen it so it's not showing too much of the brightness? Simply bring this here. It's going to feel like nothing is added. And then simply work it in as much as you think you need. And I think it's pretty good. So now with the Fresh Air, all I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the mix, and you guys will hear how it sounds like. Just watch. So I click this to link. All right, this is from Steven Slate. So I click this to link, and I'm just going to move one, and it's going to move both. If I don't click this, it's just going to move individually. If I click both will move, okay? So hear how it sounds like. I'm going to link it and just do it that way. That sounds pretty good, okay? So maybe I like that brightness. So why would I need this plugin? If you didn't have this plugin, guess what we are gonna do? If I didn't have these plugins, what we are gonna do is this: Pro EQ, and we are gonna use the brighten. We are gonna brighten the high, and see how it sounds. Bypass with a little bit of brightness. But what happens is when I do that, it affects the overall fan. And so these plugins are just made to really just help it without really affecting too much of the bands, right? And so that's why it's very it's something you should consider. Okay, so that this one is called the Vintage Oral Exciter, okay, from Apex, and this one here is called Fresh Air. It's a free plugin at the moment. Okay, it's free at the moment. Okay, cool. So Without that, it sounds like, so without any treatment, it sounds like this. With a little bit of treatment, SSL, with an exciter, with some fresh air, we are negative 22, somewhere negative 19 or whatever, okay? So now the other thing I'm going to add to this is going to be a vitamin, okay? Very important. I like using that in my mixes. Vitamin, okay? This is if you are a waves person, by the way. I'm going to go to Studio One very shortly, okay? So with vitamin, this is what I like to do. I like to pull a preset once again, mastering, and find a preset that sounds good. So let's hear a few of it. Okay, I think the 3 sounds good to me, okay? The idea is we cannot clip, okay? Keep in mind, while you're doing this, you're keeping your eye on your meters. You're not just doing it. You're keeping your eye on your meter. You're going back and forth. For the sake of time is why I'm just focusing on the plug-in, okay? But I'm actually looking around, okay? So the idea here is with vitamin, my idea is to make sure I solo a range and I hear how it sounds and put as much as I feel like I need. So for example, I'm hearing a lot of high ends. Maybe I want to pull down the high ends with this, okay? All right, and then maybe work from here. All right, so maybe bring it somewhere close to the 24, somewhere like that, and then let's work from the midpoint, okay? So from the midpoint, maybe I want to hear some more bass, so let's see how it sounds the bassy wise. So I'm going to add more bass to make it more fatter, okay? So let me take it off and let me hear how everything sounds to know what frequencies I want to hear more of. Maybe the mid frequencies I want to hear more of. And so let me just kind of kill the highs. Let me hear how it sounds like right now. So with vitamin, it's not like you're going to lose everything. It's like it's just adding a taste and a feel to it, okay? I feel like I want to work on these 2 range, bring them up a little bit. So let me hear how the bass sound like, the low range sound like, okay, the low. And I'm going to bring in the mid-low or whatever. And I'm going to bring the other, the mid. Okay, and I'm going to work this in too. All right, after that, I'm going to unsolo and I'm going to hear it, how it fits in. So without the vitamin, with the vitamin. Okay, so at this point I'm at 21.7. Okay, and so maybe I want to add maybe something like maybe um, a little bit of saturation with maybe a tape warmer. Okay, so let me see, J37. Okay, maybe that's what I want. Okay, and so same thing with that. You can find a preset you like. If you feel like something sounds good to you, you can use that. I like to use, these presets for the mastering. Okay, and they all sounds different. So you just got to find something that sounds cool and use. If I don't do that, I just do my own settings. Okay, so let's hear. I like how it's tight and open. Okay, but again, remember it's giving you a lot of noise. Okay, so be mindful if you want to hear these noises. If you want to reduce it, be mindful. So if you don't want it, you got to kill it. So here, see how you kill it. Right here, a lot more. Kill it. Okay. Okay, you need a little bit of it. Okay, to make it the right sound the right way. Okay. And then also, you can decide if you want to, you just got to listen to it and make sure. Okay, it's actually not on, so you can't really tell. So let me put it on so you can hear it. You guys hear the noise in the background? Okay, so kill it if you don't want noise, or if you want a little bit of noise. Okay. Okay, and then you can find what profile setting you like. Maybe you can take all these off and hear how it sounds just with it. For me, I don't like delay on my mastering, so I'll probably kill my delay. Hold on. I'll probably kill my delay. Okay. I'll probably just kill my delay. All right. So you just got to find what works best for you, what sounds best for you, okay? All right, I think it sounds good as it is right now. All right, so let's hear everything with it, okay? That's the only way we can hear the impact. You see the noise is out, a little bit of noise, not too much, okay? So that is just adding warmth to it, making it warm, okay? You realize it's not warm. This comes in and makes it a bit warmer. Okay, so now we can put the final icing on the cake by using a limiter we like, okay? For the sake of demonstration, I'm going to use the Waves L3 low latency, L3 low latency multi maximizer. Okay, I'm going to use that. What I like to use for my mastering, okay, what I like to personally use for my mastering is the regular L3 multi maximizer right here. Okay, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to use the low latency one. Okay, and this is like the final step. Okay, so at this step, remember we said we want the short term to be somewhere around -20 negative 14, okay? So at this step, we want to make sure we are getting the reads we want, okay? So let's hear it right now so far without. So considering all the work we've done and we are around negative 21 is very good. That means we are not doing much. We are really just adding a slight touch and we are not really killing it. We are still keeping the color and all that stuff, okay? So now the limiter is where the problem is going to come in, okay? So let's hear how to work with the limiter, okay? So first things first, let me keep this up. Let me keep this up, okay? I'm going to just pen. You guys see me penning? This thing is to pen, so it always stays and it doesn't disappear, okay? All right? So with that said, let's move on. Okay, so now that I have this going, I'm keeping my eye here as I'm limiting. So the way it works is this. With waves, with a limiter, I can just keep it in the middle and move it, and it's going to affect both. Or I can just work with one. You realize the more I'm limiting, the more noise I'm going to get. You hear it? The more I'm limiting, the more noise. And then the output ceiling also can be controlled by itself, okay? You see, little noise, the more you want it on the output ceiling, the more you're going to hear it. So you got to understand all these things, okay? For example, if I limit it like this, okay, how about the dithering noise? Type 1, type 2, type 3, none, okay? Okay, how about the shaping? Normal, ultra, none, moderate, okay? How about the arc being set to aggressive, warm, scaled, manual, okay? Understand all these things, okay? So the way this is going to work is I'm going to play the track, and I'm going to keep moving this until I feel like the song is being washed away, and I'm going to find a sweet spot, okay? Then we're going to continue talking. So let's do that right now. It's already getting washed out. You guys hear it, right? I feel like somewhere here is good, okay? And so this is how this is going to work. Now that I've gotten it to the sweet spot, okay? Now I'm going to set the output ceiling. I'm going to gradually go up until I find whatever number I'm looking for the LUFS. The idea is if you send it to 0 like it should be, it's probably going to exceed it. And so get it to where it will get you to the LUFS, okay? So that's how that's going to work. For me, when it comes to dithering, so I like to keep this on none and none. And because I'm exporting in 16 bits, I'm going to set this to 16 bits, okay? But I don't really care. I can leave it at 24. It doesn't really change much, okay? And I can leave this on type 1 and leave this as normal, no, ultra. That's fine. And I can leave this on as aggressive, okay? I think that's fine, okay? So now let me play it back. Let's hear without the limiter right now, and with this is without. Okay, let's do it this way without the limiter. That's without a limiter. This is with the limiter. All right, so now I'm going to play it and I'm going to move it back, and it's going to get louder. I'm going to move the ceiling up. It's going to get louder, okay? But however, the idea is not to just make it entirely loud. The idea is to get it to the highest ceiling I want. Then I'm going to try and find a good balance between the threshold up to the negative 8.1. Nothing past 8.1. Everything 8.1 or above, okay? I'm going to find a good balance, okay? Now that I found my sweet spot at negative 8.1, okay? So let's see how that works. So you can do with this method, okay? Or you can simply say, look, I'm trying to go for it all, okay? So I'm going to keep it at 0, and I'm going to find a balance of the threshold and call it a day. Or you can simply say, hey, I'm going to leave a little bit of room at the top by setting it to negative 0.5 to leave a little bit of room, or negative 1, okay, or negative 2 or 3, okay? I think the best is negative 0.5 or 0. But 0 is always the best because you get it as loud as possible, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 0. Then I'm going to find a medium between this and negative 8, okay? And you guys will see how it's going to work. I'm going to go up a little bit, and you see it's going to change it. So let's hear it. Okay, so I'm right where I want to be at. My short terms are negative 14. You guys see that? Negative 14, negative 14.9, okay? You guys see that? And it's working for us, and we are good, okay? So now I'm rewriting something. The question to ask yourself is, are some of my instruments washed out? Am I hearing everything, right? And when I'm hearing it, I feel like I need a stereo image, okay? So this is where it might get nasty a little bit. So, for example, S1 image as stereo, okay? And then I'm going to bring that up to the chain, probably right before the J37, okay? Right before the J37, okay? So now let's hear without the imager. Actually, let's hear without the limiting first, okay? So this is without the imager. Or let's do it after the J37. That's fine. All right, that's without, and now with a little bit of stereo imager. So with a stereo imager, the whole idea is the higher you go, the more wide it gets. The lower you go, the more thin it gets, and it sounds more mono. Hear it. So the point is for you to find a good balance, okay? My idea is to find a good balance without messing it up, making it sound weird, okay? So my idea is to make it somewhere over here, somewhere like that, somewhere between here and here. But I gotta listen to hear what sounds good, okay? So I'm just gonna basically bring it here and just start working from there, or even from here. That's from the bottom, and then just work up, okay? So let's hear how it sounds like. That sounds very good to me, right? So now we are going to do the limiting again to make sure we are not clipping, okay? So we're going to bring this back up, and then we're going to bring this back up, okay? And we are going to make sure we are not clipping, okay? And we are also getting the number we want. So we might need to take it up a little bit more, okay? Or take out a little bit more. Let's find out. We are still good, okay? Now, let me tell you another rule I have for the limiter. So the limiter, that's exactly how I work it, okay? But there are certain rules that I have for the limiter, okay? So I'm using this multi-band for a reason, okay? So, for example, if I want to make sure that I'm hearing a lot of my kicks so that it doesn't sound as like a lot of high ends, and let's say I want to hear more of my kick drum, and I don't want that to be compressed too much, I can put a little bit of priority on it. You see I'm putting priority on it. Not a high, too much of a high priority, like a 12, but just a little bit of a priority, right? Maybe a 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. You know, put a little bit of priority on it, okay? Then maybe remember how we did the vitamin, and I told you I wanted to hear more of this range. Maybe put a little bit of priority on that too, just a little bit. And maybe the high ends is too much for me. I want to put less priority, so maybe I just put a little bit of less priority there. Okay, so that means when I put less priority and it compresses, that means it's going to compress it hard, okay, over there, okay, and it's going to compress it less with the one with a higher priority, okay. I don't want to set too much of a low priority, okay, so I'm going to just make it just a little. Let's just say if that's what I wanted. That is just an example, okay. Now, besides that, okay, there is this these things here that you could also use to basically check, you know, at what point, okay, that you want it to compress, okay, or at what merging point you want it to compress, okay. I don't really do a lot of these EQing. I don't do that. I feel like you are just messing up your master, so I just don't do that. What I do is just put in a priority and simply just deciding what to do with these things, okay. So basically just find a good balance, and let's hear how it sounds like right now. At this point, it sounds good, okay, and we are good. Remember when we started, we were at negative 20 something, 27.4.0 for the loudness. Now let's update it. Let's hear how it sounds. We want to be somewhere like negative 14, just like we see here at the K14, okay? That's where we want to be at. So let's make sure we are there. Negative 14.8. After we applied effects, we started from negative 24.0. We ended up at negative 14.8. And over here, we are negative 14.9. You guys saw it, and 15.0. So we are doing a very good job, and we can even push it more, but we are not. We are going to keep it here, okay? So this was the K49 read, just to really check for the LUFS, right? But now let's check for the true peak meter to make sure we are not peaking above 0. And so we are doing a very good. Let's check for the LU. Most times you want to be somewhere between, 8 and 12, okay? Somewhere like 8 and 12. 7.9, right about 8, okay? That's about right? 8, right about it, okay? So that means we did a very good job with this example, okay? And so at this point, if we are done, we can just remove our meter. We don't really need to add it, or we can just disable it, just like we disable something, okay? And just call it a day, and we are done, okay? So this is a situation if you are going to use waves. If you're not using waves and you are using alternative stuff from personas, my advice is to learn about the persona stuff and then use the right stuff. I would imagine there are some good things in here you can use. So, for example, instead of using a compressor here, an alternative to that will be this compressor here, okay? Instead of using this exciter here, an alternative for that is to use a possibly, I don't even think there's an exciter in here, is there? I don't think so. So simply use maybe a Pro EQ, okay? And then boost the high end a little bit, okay? So you get the high in it, okay? Instead of using the fresh air, you don't have that, so you don't need to worry about it. Instead of applying the concept of the the vitamin, I'm sure there's some type of multi-band compression or something. With there's some type of multi-band compression that you can use with personas. Okay. Yeah, like here, even with what you're looking at here, you can decide, hey, boost a little bit of the lows, cut the high. I'm sure it's all going to give you something like that. You're going to have to mess with it, see what works for you, okay? And instead of using a J37, you don't need to worry about that. Instead of using an imager, look for something that looks like an imager, something that says stereo or something like that. And I think I saw something that says expander. So I imagine that will do the job, okay? It could do or it may not. You're just going to have to listen to it and see if it does the job, okay? And then instead of using this limiter, okay, you can find the limiter that is provided with Studio One right here and use that, okay? So there's a workaround to all this, okay? There's a workaround to all this. Don't feel like you cannot do it, okay? So that was just to show you an example of what are some other possibilities, okay? So now that we have our song, we want to release it. We already talked about it, so I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to release it. And remember, we changed the name of our song. Say you came here and your name of the song was not the way you want, and I wanted it to be something else. Like, for example, if I wanted to be Stein Mix underscore demo, then that means I have to do it here. So when I export, it shows up exactly like that, okay? That's just an example, okay? All right? But that's not what I want to do. So we're going to do this. We're going to pick the location, and we are going to go back to our desktop, go to the lesson, go to mastering, and in the mastering folder, we are just going to put it in there, okay? And say we wanted waves and MP3. Okay, let's talk about that. I like to do both because I never know who I'm sending it to, so I got to do wave 16-bit 44.1, okay? And then MP3 44.1, 320 the highest. Pick the highest possible whenever you're doing your final song, okay? And then I can call it a day. And then here, I can say use range of events. That is for the loop, okay? Loop points. So before I do this, let's cut this real quick. So fade, how do I fade in? You see it? Right there. It's right there for you. This here is the way you fade in. All right, you can fade this way, fade however way you want. There's all kinds of ways. And then you could also fade out this way. So hear how it sounds. Or you can make it gradual. All right, you guys see it? So that's fine. If you wanted to fade, yeah, that's how you fade, okay? Say I wanted to fade, okay? I wanted to fade. That's how I fade. Maybe the beginning I don't want to fade, and I'm good, okay? So it's just that simple, okay? So digital release, go through all the steps. It's in mastering, okay? All right, wave 16, 44.1, 44.1, 320, constant, not variable. keep it on wherever it is, and then maybe I want to hear it back, right? I can use real time, okay? And then I'm done. Okay, and it creates, and then it creates my folder for me. All right, it creates my folder for me, and I can check my wave. All right, and always you can delete this file if you're done with the project. You don't really need it, and then you can just do. All right, just to check your work, and then maybe the MP3, same thing. You can delete that M3U. You don't really need it if you're done with your song. All right, so congratulations, guys. You have officially learned how to master and export. Okay, that's how you master and export. Um, that's how you master and export your song in Studio One. Using basic fundamentals and principles. Okay, I hope you guys have been blessed. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys remain blessed again. This is Sam Lab Tech bringing you this tutorial. I hope it has blessed you, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Stay on this channel if you want to learn new things and amazing things. We have some amazing things coming your way, and we know that you guys are gonna love it and enjoy it. So just stay put on this channel for more to come. Okay, all right, Sam Lab Tech bringing you this tutorial again. This is Stein. Remain blessed. Have a good one. See you in the next video. Bye bye.